Why are you wasting my time?
I don't see that happening. It seems pretty fun.
You tell us when.
There we go.
I'm here with Marco Serio, here at Bluebud Studio in Amsterdam. I put the radio voice on just now, just for you.
That's nice, man. So good.
I want to thank you for agreeing to do this.
It's my pleasure.
I know you're a busy guy, and yeah, it's funny, when we first started this project, your name was the first one to pop in my head. It's been a few months now, and now we can finally...
That's nice of you. Yeah, it's fun, man. I'm looking
definitely
forward
on
to
the bucket list of tattoo podcasts.
I'm looking forward, man. I'm super excited to be part of it.
I just wanted to catch up with you a bit. How long has the shop been open now?
We're going on our 5th year. So in August, it'll be 5 years.
Wow.
Time flies.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine it would be like this when you first started?
Not at all, no. No, I don't. Yeah, I think when you do something like this, you never really know what to expect, or you think you do, but it goes totally a different direction.
Right.
I think that's part of the fun. It, keeps you on your toes and keeps you trying to figure out solution to different situations.
Right. It's a beautiful shop. I love the drawing room. That's where we're at now. This Cobra is really cool.
This is all Sam's decoration.
Yeah.
Gotta give her props.
Yeah, and you two both opened the shop together.
Yeah.
And she manages the shop.
She does. Well. She takes care of all the appointments, all of the Facebook, Instagram, all that.
Yeah, social media.
Social media, exactly.
All that stuff
that's very important now.
It's funny. I find myself on it doing less stuff.
Yes.
I get lost on it. Go on my phone to look up an email, and then I'm on Instagram, and half an hour goes by, and I'm like, "What? Why did I even open up my phone?"
It's true.
It's become such a distraction. I wish I could use it more as like an actual tool instead of a distraction.
Yeah. I'm not very good with it either. Like I have a tendency to like be off of it for a week where I just go on and like look at people's stuff. And then all of a sudden, like in one day, I'll post 3 pictures. I know it's like totally not what you're supposed to do, but...
So we were like managing the account for the Silver Tongue podcast.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. It's just like, we'll do it. But I want to be better at it. But at the same time, I don't want to be on it. So it's like a little power struggle. Nowadays, you don't think you can really exist without having some sort of social media presence.
I think that the best thing is just do whatever you're comfortable with, and that's because I used to always go back and forth with that. I was like, I need to be more on it. I need to like post more. And then after a while, I'm just kind of like, it's just not in me to do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it doesn't make me any happier to do it.
No.
Just whenever.
So I'm happy with what I get from it. Like, the people that come through because they saw me on there or whatever. It's great.
Nice. And so who do you have working at the shop now?
Rory Pickersgill and Jeroen Gardenier. They're great. Love their work. They're fun to work with.
Yeah, I like their work a lot as well. When I came to guest here, got to work with Jeroen. I haven't worked with Rory. I think he came in afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like his work as well.
Yeah.
It's really cool, the Japanese stuff that he's doing.
It's very dynamic, and he really puts a lot of work into it, draws a lot. So, yeah, all these guys do, which I love that.
But it's cool. I think what sets your shop apart from a lot of the other shops that I've seen is that you guys do a lot of the traditional type work, traditional Japanese. Jeroen does a lot of traditional American inspired stuff.
Yeah.
But everything's super strong. I think common denominator is the quality is super high, and
we do our best working towards getting better, just like everyone else, I think, and but yeah, we do want to keep it in the older, the classical styles of tattooing, traditional stuff, rather than some of the other stuff that we're seeing now, and we like it. Yeah,
definitely the stuff that inspires me. I think I followed your work from when you were in New York City. I don't know if when I first started seeing your work was before you started working at Invisible, but I definitely remember seeing a lot of your work around, and definitely been inspiring, because for me, I like that Japanese style that you do.
Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And your work looks amazing as well, my friend.
Thanks, buddy.
Super nice.
Do you want to talk about Portugal?
Sure. Like where I was born, and yeah, I was born in Portugal, a small town on the outskirts of Lisbon, a half hour from Lisbon, Cascais. Lived there till I was 8. And then we moved to the States, to Salt Lake City at first.
Oh, wow.
So I lived in Salt Lake City for the first 10 years until I was 17.
Uh-huh.
And then at 17, I left, went back to Portugal for what was going to be about 6 months. I ended up staying there for a couple of years. And then moved to New York.
Wow. Did your family go with you as well to New York, or they stayed in...
Well, my mom stayed in Salt Lake City. My brother was already living in New York since 85 or 86.
Okay.
So the first couple of months I stayed with him until I got my footing down and, got myself a place and a job and then just lived there most of the time. And about 7 years ago, I moved to Europe.
Okay. 7 years ago. Yeah.
So I really started tattooing in New York. It's kind of like at its early boom right after it became legal. So this was probably 98, I believe. 90,
yeah. I think it was, 98, 99 when it was finally legalized.
It was like in 97, I think, is when they won the whole court thing. And they were like, all right, you can do it.
Right.
98 was when 6th Avenue boomed. And last time I was in New York, it really shrunk down. But at that time in 98, 99, it was huge.
Right.
I mean, you had... shops back to back.
Is that like St. Mark's, 6th Avenue, or?
Yeah, a little further down.
Yeah.
So if you're on St. Mark's, once you cross Astor Place, turns into 8th Street.
Right.
And if you just take that all the way down, you hit 6th Avenue.
Right.
And that's kind of where the epicenter was. Just a lot of shops, a lot of tattooing going on there, but just a wild place, man.
Yeah, I remember when it became legalized because I was waiting for it to be legalized in Boston at the time. And I think it followed maybe 2 years later that Boston finally became legalized after New York. But I remember that, just seeing tattoo shops everywhere, inside hat and souvenir stores.
Dude. On St. Mark's, there's a lot of that, for sure.
It's just wild. But I'm assuming now a lot of those businesses just can't keep up with the rise in rent as well.
No, it was kind of weird. Like even when, years ago, I would say probably... 2006. I remember going back there with Kiku. Because that's where Kiku and I met. We were working together on 6th Avenue. Right. So that's 99.
Wow.
And we worked together in the same shop. We went back to that shop, I think probably 2004, 2005 on a Saturday to see a friend of ours. And there was only 2 guys working there and they weren't busy.
Wow. How many were there before?
5, 6, and it was nonstop from the time that the shop opened till... Wow. I was definitely considered one of the slow guys there. Me and Kika we were always given shit for it. Even at that time, we were doing 4 or 5 tattoos a day. And we had guys in there doing 17, 18 tattoos a day.
Wow.
Incredible. It was nuts, man.
Back then, were you doing larger stuff as well? Or is it just kind of
it was like
walk-in stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they didn't want you to spend any time on drawing. I mean, it was, it was a while. At that time, I knew so little about tattooing that I really was just happy to be inside of a shop. It's like looking back now, it was nuts. They didn't want you to draw because that's time taken away from trying to get clients.
They don't want you to be ambitious. They want you to make money.
Exactly. It's like there's flash on the wall that somebody already drew.
Yeah, I remember one of the shops that I used to work at, we had a time slip. You would put down the tattoo you did and how long it took you.
Yeah.
If you tattooed faster, you would get put on like better days. You get weekends or Saturdays, prime time, like money making days. And so I would always just lie on it. Be like, yeah, it took half the time. And, just so I could have more opportunities to get more clients that way.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But it's funny because ambition was kind of shunned upon of
yes.
Well, you want to be a custom tattoo artist.
Yeah.
What do you think, you're an arty boy or something?
Yeah,
it's
totally.
just that kind of mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember sitting there doing some drawings and the owner of the shop coming in what the fuck you think you are, Philip Liu? Come on, man. Get out there and talk to customers. You're like, all right, cool.
Hustle, man, hustle. But I don't know, I'm sure obviously shops like that still exist, but I don't really hang out in them.
Yeah.
Well, most of the shops I hang out in are just people who are really trying to push themselves and push their friends, inspire each other and create something cool.
I hated it at the time, but now when I look back, I think it taught me a lot about people and just how to work with people that are from crazy and fucking strange walks of life, you know? Because you meet a lot of characters like that.
Here, do you meet a lot of strange folks, or is it kind of...
No, I think it's pretty mellow. But also I think, like a lot of places, Amsterdam has undergone its changes. From what I've heard from locals here, if you were here 15, 20 years ago, you would have seen a different Amsterdam than what you see today. Right. Kind of like what's happened in New York.
Yeah. Totally.
I remember when I got to New York, it always kind of felt like I got there after the party. Everybody was like, fuck, it was nuts.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, when Regina and I were working in Alphabet City and walked down Avenue A or go into B, you know, to some bar, and people were like, oh, back in the day, you wouldn't have even been able to come into the neighborhood.
Right. Too dangerous.
Too dangerous, yeah. So I think that's happened here as well. I mean, today you walk through the red light district and you see a lot of tourist groups, and it's mellow, and you can go into bars there. And
Right.
15, 20 years ago, from what I've heard, it was a totally different story. As places become gentrified, also the people change.
Sure.
And like now what you get more is business people, and you know, a lot of the old school people that were living in Amsterdam have moved out to other suburbs and smaller towns around Amsterdam.
Right.
So yeah, it changes the dynamic.
But I've noticed that kind of all around. You know, even in Boston and Philadelphia, where I've worked a lot of time. In Philadelphia, it was always crazy, like people coming in trying to rob you, or some wildness happening. And back then, I would always kind of like welcome it because it was exciting.
Yeah.
And now I don't care much for it. I was like, I want to be home for dinner, you know?
Yeah, totally.
On time.
Yeah.
That's like,
I like home.
Yeah, I like home. But, you know, every so often I get those kind of little spurts of, let's shake things up a bit.
Sure.
You know, where's the local crackhead? You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go talk to him.
For sure. And sometimes it's refreshing. I mean, we'll have that happen here. I've had it happen maybe, I don't know, man, 3 or 4 times. And I don't even get upset about it. I'm just like, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, there's still that.
As long as they don't break something inside.
Yeah, don't break shit. Yeah. Just have fun. Just come in and say, like, had a guy open up the door and just starts yelling that he loved me. I was like, this is great, man. Come on in. No, do you have money?
I love you more for some more money.
But yeah, man, it's nice. I don't mind that at all.
Do you mind talking about some of your times at Invisible? Like,
yeah, sure, man. I'd love to.
The dynamic between you, Kiko, and Regino, and Troy as well.
Yeah, for sure,
Was
man.
that the main crew at the time? Because I know they have some other guys there.
Kiku and I started working together, like I said, on 6th Avenue, and that was in 98. So, yeah, about 98, 99. Then I left there. Kiku went to work at Purple Panther in LA. I went to work at Inkstop Tattoo on Avenue A.
Okay, yeah.
That's where I met Regina. Regina was working there. So this is about 99, 2000.
Okay.
After a year of working there, Kiku came back from LA and started working with us. And he was splitting his time between Inkstop and Da Vinci on Long Island. And then when Troy opened up the place, I believe that might have been 2004 or 2002. Fuck, I can't remember right now. But then I started working with Troy. I told him about Kiku and Regino, and they met, and he met them. Regino came to work there. A year, 6 months later, Kiko also came to work there. It was great, man, because since we met each other, Regina was the one tattooing the longest out of all of us. He'd already been tattooing, I think, for 5-7 years before us. So we had this great dynamic in the sense that we really try to help each other to grow, and we learned a lot from Regina. He's like that kind of guy that's really hard to find in the sense that does everything extremely well, always has. I don't ever recall seeing a bad tattoo from Regina. No. The three of us, of course, became very close. We always wanted to do custom work. Yeah, that was our main reason for wanting to look for a new place where we could focus more on custom work. At the same time, we all wanted to work together. Invisible was kind of like the perfect storm in that sense. And then we met Troy, and that just worked. You know, it's fun working with Troy. It's fun working with those guys. It was great, man. Yeah,
from looking at all the work that comes out of that shop, it definitely seems like it's a fun place, but very creative as well.
Yeah, they're amazing, man. And you know, the thing that I really liked about it too, that I think is very unique, is that there was competition, but in a very great sense of it.
You mean inside the shop?
Yeah. You know, we weren't unhappy if somebody got a back piece. We were like, awesome, we're super stoked, and everyone was genuinely happy for each other to improve, and to grow. And we were all really good friends, which I think is it's tough to find this combo, you know. Yeah. So I'm super fortunate to have had it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it seems like a cool experience.
Yeah, for sure.
when you guys were working together, was it a conscious decision to all sort of work on Japanese work, or at the time were you kind of doing all styles of work?
Well, I always wanted to learn Japanese. That was my main thing. I think Regino as well. Kiku, that came later.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. Because now, I mean, I look at some of his work and it's so traditional, you know, and I love it. But yeah, he wasn't into Japanese. So that took a while. And then I think that at some point it just kind of clicked for him, where he was just like, that's, you know, that's what I actually want to do.
Right. And what about for yourself? What kind of drew you to that style? Do you have like any sort of aha moment?
Yes. I was 12. I just recently found out who this photo actually was of, but I was 12 years old at the public library looking up things on tattooing. There's hardly anything that you could find at that, you know, back then. This is 87. But I came across this book somehow, and there's a photo on the cover of a guy's rib panel. And it was done by Ed Hardy. And I just remember sitting there and just looking at that thing and trying to figure out, how do you put something like that together? And I remember for like, you know, weeks, months, just kind of going back over that image. Eventually went back to the library, checked out that book, never returned it. And then I kind of just always had that image in my head. There's this page that I follow on Instagram, but they post a lot of old photos. And one of them was this photo, and it's Scott Sterling's rib piece.
Okay.
And so when I saw that, I was just like, holy shit, that was that photo. Like when I saw that, man, that definitely started, it showed me something that up until then, I didn't even think was possible.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen anybody with that kind of coverage. Yeah. So
yeah,
that blew my mind.
I was looking at a lot of old Hardy stuff. I was over at Henning's house, and he was looking through some old photo albums with me, and just like blowing my mind at all this cool stuff that I had never seen, that you would see only at conventions. Yeah. It's those first images for me as well, where it hits you. And I get that a lot with a lot of the older Japanese, very stripped down, simplified type of stuff. But I also like the very dynamic, I guess, more proportionately drawn. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm always drawn like one side or the other, and I can't make up my mind which I like better. But one day strip it down, the other day I'm like, get really wild and transparent with it, you know. I still see those types of tattoos in people tattooing today as well. It's almost like a Rosetta Stone of tattooing, where the message arrived here from the past as well. It's true. Yeah, it's just this magical time, and that's kind of like what when you look at those tattoo time quarterlies or something. Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes I look at those and you're just like, it was just this magical time in tattooing. I totally get, you know, like when I hear tattooers that have been at it for like 35 years or whatever, they're like, what the fuck? I get it, because it's just like when I look at those things, I'm just like, yeah, you really experienced this very magical time in tattooing. And when I look at those photos, that's what it always reminds me of. Yeah. This is a kind of a question I've been mulling around in my head. Yeah. As far as like my own work and playing with that balance between what's more important, something that's designed very well or something that's technically executed with high quality of like refinement, or because I've been looking at a lot of tattoos that inspire me, and they're not necessarily the cleanest looking tattoos as far as super solid color or anything, or like even the lines. Some of the lines aren't even perfect, but the whole impact of the design is super strong, and if you were to kind of clean it or polish it, it would probably lose some of that strength as well. But I was wondering if you have ever thought of that, or... Yeah, I think I go back and forth. I think that I'll do tattoos that are a bit more complex, some less detailed, more classical. And I think that is an approach I take depending on the client. You know, the way that I kind of view it is, yes, obviously I want to be happy with it, but ultimately there's somebody that's going to be wearing it for the rest of their life. Sure. And if that person comes to me and they show me a bunch of photos of stuff that's more detailed, I'm going to go with that. Yeah, I'm going to try to, you know, meet them there. I'll show them the design, explain what my idea is. I think that's also why, like, I don't really feel like I have a set style. Like I'll do different things. Like sometimes it's more classical than others. Because I really do base that a lot more off what my clients want. Right. I have fun either way. I tend to, like, the work that I prefer to do is the stuff that I enjoy tattooing. Probably less refined Right.
I can tattoo it faster.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I would never be able to do realistic.
Right.
I just don't have that. Like, I couldn't sit there and spend that much time on one particular area.
Mm-hmm.
That would drive me nuts. When I can move through a tattoo, that's where I feel like my energy is at its peak. It's when I feel the most connected to it, where I can not talk for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would prefer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems like when you're able to kind of do something a little bit faster, it's not that you would lose interest, but have like almost an instant gratification in a way where it's like you have something you can look at, something solid that you had completed, so you are able to compress all the emotions into one session.
Yeah.
For some of those one-shot tattoos, I almost get more satisfaction out of a one-shot tattoo than a full sleeve.
Sure.
And at the end of a sleeve, well, maybe I could have done this better or that better, but for some reason I don't think that way with one shot.
Yeah.
There's definitely a satisfaction of I completed a large piece.
Yeah. It takes a lot.
Yeah. It's bittersweet, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, I think it's a totally different mindset, even in your relation with clients. I mean, if you're doing a one-shot thing, and if that's what you do on a regular basis, let's say, I think that your connection with clients can be different unless you have a client that repeatedly comes back to you or whatever. Yeah. But the clients there for 4 hours, you talk to them, you bullshit with them, laugh and whatever. When you're doing large-scale work, you can become intimately wrapped up into a person's life. Things that they're going through, problems with their family, their job. You end up knowing somebody sometimes over the course of years.
Sure.
So your attachment to people is totally different.
Yeah, totally.
But I enjoy that about it. For me, that is definitely one of the rewards of tattooing.
The human connection, along with doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always appreciative when people actually will trust me with doing a large scale piece.
Absolutely.
That's something I always try to keep in the back of my head. Always kind of be appreciative of that, even though it's something you might be struggling through a drawing to get it right. Yeah, you just have to always step back and be like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Like this person's letting me do this.
It's crazy
in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes like when you sit there and you think about it, how you have this ability to like transform a person forever. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah. You make them look tough. I always tell people there's a guarantee with my tattoos. You're guaranteed to get laid or win fights. So I hope it's true.
Yeah. You guys like a Power Ranger.
Make you tough. Do you ever draw any inspiration from the Rijksmuseum here? Or living here seeped into your designing and tattooing?
Well, I think you spend a lot more time at home living in a northern European country. It's like the weather isn't always it rains a lot. Yeah. And although like the Dutch, like it's second nature to them, they're like, why aren't you cycling over here? You're like, it's fucking pouring, man.
I don't like being wet.
Yeah. So I just find that like I actually spend a lot more time at home and drawing. Yeah. I think it's worked out in that sense. Definitely there's a lot of museums. There's a lot of beautiful things in the city, for sure. But I do like the tranquility that the city has brought me. I mean, New York is great. I love New York, but it's hectic. Yeah. I used to always remember that whenever I'd go do a guest spot or a convention and I'd come back to New York, you had this 45-minute time span where like you arrived, you went out to get a cab. By the time you were in the cab on the way to the center, you're right back into that, craziness. And your whole kind of body changed or whatever to it. Here it's nice because it's like it's chill, man. Like, I can go for like just last night I left the shop and walked home. Yeah. Through these canals, and you look at the canals at night, it's beautiful. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for kind of stepping away from the craziness and the distraction. Yeah. I know since moving to Helsingør, it's a quiet little town, and I have a lot more time to myself and to my own thoughts, and I think it helps in designing because you're not always influenced by outside chatter.
Yeah. I think it helps you to quiet down and be able to take all the things you've learned and seen and just kind of put them together into a package that you like. Right. And I think sometimes you need that. So
I know you have recurring guests. Do you have anybody coming soon?
Yeah, we have a few guests. Sam has just been speaking with a few of them. Mm-hmm. We still got to double check who's coming. I know Henry's coming, Frank Ball and M. Scott. Flo is coming. Dong is coming. So there's quite a few, but she's still figuring it all out.
Right.
So.
And then that's all stuff that we could find on like Instagram or the website.
She always posts it. It's always on the Blue Blood Studios page on our website as well.
Right.
I mean, we have like guests that are new guests, but we always have reoccurring guests. Junior always comes out here from Brazil.
Oh, nice.
So he comes out twice a year sometimes. Ichibei comes through twice a year around the London convention and then Paris convention.
Yeah, Paris is coming up soon.
Yeah.
You don't do many conventions anymore?
I haven't done them in years.
Yeah.
No. I think the last one that I did was Milan probably 5-6 years ago.
Okay. Wow. You miss it or yes and no?
Yeah, it's a weird thing for me, man. It's like I'm just not that much I like people. It's not like I'm like we were talking about earlier, that kind of shit, man, where it's like millions of people like walking around and like all trying to talk at the same time. Like that shit drives me nuts, man.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
It is, yeah. So I just feel like I always got to kind of prepare myself. It just takes a lot out of me to do it. And, there was a point you would go and you would see all these people tattooing that you really wanted to see, where it's like now I feel like it's less and less. Yeah, I mean, not that it's less and, there's still great artists out there and whatever, but it's just like some of the stuff that I'd really like to see. A lot of those guys don't even do conventions anymore.
Right.
I'll probably end up going at some point. Like I was thinking of next year to possibly do London and maybe Germany.
Yeah, we did London. We didn't work. Luana and I have just been going into the conventions just to participate, but I haven't been working. I just wanted to go and hang out with people and just see what's going on. I guess for me, I feel like it's pretty important to go and just be a part of it and take it all in. But I know what you mean. Like, it definitely takes a lot out of you. And I think you and I are a lot the same in that sense of just being mentally prepare yourself to take in the masses. But I'm typically a person like this, the one-on-one.
Me too,
You
for
feel
sure.
like you can get some real shit done. But also, in those atmospheres, it's very superficial. You really can't have a conversation because it's like so much going on. So it's almost like a waste, but it isn't at the same time.
No, for sure. Yeah. No, it's like I've met great people at conventions and, even like lifelong friends that I've met at conventions. It's not that. It's just that, you get a lot of people coming through that. And sometimes it's like I find myself feeling like claustrophobic inside of that booth when you're like looking out ahead and there's just this sea of people. Yeah. I'm just like, fuck, dude.
What I usually do is I put my back to the rest of the convention. I just face the banner tattooing someone. Yeah. And Luana just sweet talks everyone for me.
Yeah, that's great.
So
it's like your buffer.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me, are they safe to talk to? Okay, they're cool. Okay, I'll go say hi to them now. Yeah, but we joke, but it's true.
Yeah, it's also like if I went and I'm busy, then all right, that's. But if I have any kind of downtime, dude, I gotta get out of there. Right. I can't stay in there. There's just too many people. So that's what I would always find was that like if I had some downtime, I was like outside trying to have a cigarette. Yeah. Just to try to get away from it or just kind of get back into my. It's just it's a weird.
No, I get it. Loud and clear. I get it.